Adriana Hoppenbrouwer-Pereira is the co-founder and CMO of The Fabricant, a digital fashion house for the Metaverse founded in 2018. Their belief is that fashion is identity, and digital fashion is simply an extension of the digital identity we're building in Web3. So what's the founding story behind The Fabricant? And how does a fashion house even work in a world where no actual sewing is involved?
The Fabricant started in 2018, and we have three founders. Amber, who is the creative director and comes from a fashion background. Carrie Murphy, who is a digital technologist, very much from the visual effects background. And I come from traditional fashion and retail, so more from the business and marketing angle. And the three of us came together, and we had this, since 2018, this very strong belief that there was a space for digital-only fashion. And the reason for the belief is because fashion is all about identity, and identity is all about creating your social connections. And if we are developing our identity and social connections online, why shouldn't fashion be only digital? And back then, the Metaverse word was not out there. NFTs didn't exist in the public domain, of course. So when we approached especially the fashion industry with this proposition, it was really hard for them to understand. And we, for 2 years, we're actually working really close with fashion brands to bring them into the digital space, mostly using immersive technologies. And then somewhere in 2019, we met with the team of Dapper Labs, and they were those guys back then doing crypto kitties. And it was for us like really such an eye-opener to learn about NFTs, to learn about blockchain, and to actually bring that into our own roadmap. And we, together with Dapper, we launched the first digital dress, which was sold back then for 45 Ether, which, of course, today is humongous. Back then was $10,000, but we were all very impressed that we could sell it. And basically that vision of a digital-only space, a digital-only fashion, was actually true, and people were willing to pay for it, which allows us to build the confidence to really create a product-based business, which is a platform we call the Fabricant Studio, where basically anybody can create digital fashion NFTs and then wear it in the metaverse and trade them in the platform. That's where we are today. And what is exciting about it is that for us, our big mission is to develop and nurture and lead this new fashion industry, which again is digital only. And we believe if we have a digital only industry, it can be more sustainable, it can be more equitable, and it can be more creative. And we want to do it in a decentralized way. So when we call ourselves a digital fashion house, it is really very much about creating the new labels for the metaverse, helping those new labels to exist, creating a full ecosystem that is there to provide fashion to the metaverse, so all of us can explore our identities in completely new ways.
That's so interesting that you started in digital fashion outside of crypto back in 2018, and you understood that our world are online, our identities are online. And so in the same way that we express ourselves in the physical world, it makes sense that we'll want to express ourselves in the digital online world. And when you saw crypto and NFTs and Dapper Labs with crypto kitties, why do you think it was actually blockchain technology and crypto what moved the initial concept forward? Like, what specifically is it about crypto that kind of enables this vision for digital fashion?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, because the vision has always been lead a new industry of digital-only clothing, right? I think the shift that crypto allowed and blockchain allowed is we are not in the leading position, we are in the enabling position. Right? It really allows us to, instead of using the old model of what a fashion house is in the physical world is, you just have a lot of designers, you create all your labels, and it's all centrally owned, right? So let's call LVMH, that's the model. They have a lot of labels, they're all centrally owned by the LVMH group. And all the designers are hired. And I think what blockchain enabled us was to actually make our vision much bigger and much more groundbreaking, because we don't need to own all of that. We want to actually nurture creators to be able to create their own label and involve their fans in doing so, right? So when we talk a lot about we are creating the wardrobe of the metaverse. Now, if we believe in what the metaverse will be with billions of people, if we believe the metaverse will allow us to actually change our identity several times a day, much more faster than we change clothes, right? Physical clothes. And if every year 80 billion physical clothes are created, imagine what it's going to be when we're all going to express our identities digitally, right? It's going to be trillions of clothes. Now, there is no one single entity that will be able to create this volume. And that is what blockchain brought to us. Like, amazing. We actually don't need to be doing it. But what we can do is we can enable creators to actually create their brand, launch their brand, publish their brand in the metaverse, and co-create with their fans, expanding this kind of exponentially. The availability of fashion, the availability of styles, the availability of economical value as well for the entire community.
So is it the Fabricant provides the platform for designers and creators to use that platform and create their own fashion pieces and lines? It's not like the Fabricant is designing all of these pieces. It's providing kind of tools for creators to do that. Is that right?
Absolutely. Tools for creators, and also anybody can participate, because the heart of the experience is a co-creation tool where I can come in, and I'm not a creator, I'm not a designer, and I can still have the same experience of designing and owning the NFT and sharing the royalties with all the parties involved. That is what the studio enables. Next to the studio, we have the Fabricant Academy, which is, we had also from the very beginning in 2018, we already had the Academy. We just didn't call it out as Academy, but we gave away files. We are doing Twitch streams showing how we designed things, because we really believe about sharing the knowledge, and we collaborate a lot with universities as well. So now we formalized the need to actually, create and form professionals through the Academy. We have our own label. We still do our own things because we are creators and we want to be part of the community. But it's not only us, to your point, right? It's anybody can be part of it. And I think that is the power of the Fabricant and what we're bringing.
How does ownership play a part of this? Because I think that's kind of the key innovation that NFTs and crypto brings to Web 2, or like to the internet, right? Like the ability to actually own a digital file and prove that ownership.
Yeah, so I believe that there are two elements that are really different than traditional fashion. One, again, anybody can become a creator, fashion creator. The barriers of entry are much lower, and the value is equalized. So I think that is super beautiful, right? The kid that is in the production line in Bangladesh doesn't earn what you buy as a t-shirt, but right now it can earn, because anybody can be a creator and set up their own label. The other side is what we figured out was the royalty model. This very intentionally development of the contract, whereby when I'm customizing an item that, for example, the Fabricant created, and I'm a fan of the Fabricant, and I customize the item, that item is mine, and I'm also taking part in the royalty distribution. So the royalty is distributed equally between the Fabricant, who is the garment creator. We have what we call material creators. So we have a range of materials that I can choose from to customize, and myself, and these three entities are sharing the royalties equally. So it's place really changed the value model of physicality, where I buy an item, I'm a consumer, right? I'm a consumer of an item, and I hate this word, and we don't use these words in the Fabricants, because we are moving from the post-consumer era into we are all owners and creators and participants. So I like to use the word participants into fashion rather than consumers of fashion. When I consume an item, it's money given and it's disposable. The value goes to the brand. Within our ecosystem, when you participate, the value flows back to you.
How? If I buy, you mean if I buy a digital garment to use in my digital avatar, how will that value flow back to me?
Yeah, two ways. One is if you customize the item, right? Then you're part of the royalty contract of that item, and as it gets resold, you are treated as a creator, right? Different than buying an NFT right now. I buy an NFT, I can flip it, and I make the profit of the sale, but the royalties go to the original creator. In our model, you keep actually earning the royalties as the item gets resold over time. The other part of it is just like a normal NFT. It's your garment, right? It's part of your wardrobe, and you can still decide to resell it and make profit out of it.
Got it. That's so interesting. So, for example, I'm thinking about, these, I think it was like Zara jeans I bought, and I cut holes into them. So I modified my garment. So it would be like, if once I modify it, I take part of the creation process.
Right.
In the digital world, I can earn kind of royalties for actually participating in the creation of a new garment from the original piece.
Yeah. And I love the metaphor of the Zara jean, because actually you put your creativity on it, right? And therefore you're a creator, and therefore when you resell it, you're treated as a creator, and the creator community expands, and that's what we love about it. And at the end of the day, the physical garments will have much more liquidity, or the digital garments will have much more liquidity than a physical one, right? And yes, there is a lot of promotion of selling and buy second-hand items, but it's still a very small percentage of the physical industry. While in the digital world, I think the liquidity is going to be much higher and the trading is much easier. So that will enable people to truly monetize their creations.
That's so interesting. Before we get further into digital fashion and the Fabricant, I'd love to learn more about you. Like, what's your background and what led you to this space?
Yeah, so my background is in fashion and retail. I only worked for really large corporations before The Fabricant. So it's my first startup. And I was a bit maybe disappointed or getting to a point that large corporations are not feeding my personal purpose anymore. And I was really looking for something disruptive, built on technology, and that would give back to society. And I felt that especially in the model of fashion and retail, there was a lot to gain. That old consumer-led model that you need to keep pushing new things didn't feel quite right for me anymore. And I guess I knew Carrie from a long time. We studied together, so we were always in touch. And Carrie knew Amber, and basically, we were brought together with very three different backgrounds, but therefore very complementary. And all three of us just passionate about creating disruption in fashion and creating something that is more sustainable, that is more creative, and that is more equitable. And that's what we set ourselves to do, and are still doing.
To swap crypto, a user has to choose among hundreds of DEXs on multiple networks, all offering different rates and fees. Do you want to avoid that hassle? Swap on 1inch, a DEX aggregator that gets you the best rates than any single DEX. Enjoy the unlimited liquidity across multiple networks and top-level security. Try 1inch now.
One of the fundamental links between digital fashion and crypto is the Metaverse. But everyone has their own idea of what the Metaverse actually is. For some, it's about ownership, while for others, it's about virtual reality. So how does Adriana and the Fabricant define the Metaverse? And what's their long-term vision for it?
Yeah, I often get to ask it as well in birthday parties, even to explain what we are doing.
Yeah.
What I say and resonates with me is I think is the third evolution of the web. And there are two elements. One is the evolution of media, and the second element is the evolution of ownership, right? And when it comes to media, it's very easy for people to grasp. It's like when web was launched, it was mainly text, was very functional, and then it evolved into text and images. Then the social media phase came in, the Web 2 phase came in and became really relational. We can't live without it anymore. And it evolved from text, pictures to videos, right? And the next wave is going to be immersive media. And it is going to be really built all into the gaming engine technology. And that is kind of very easy to grasp. Yeah, it makes sense. We're already using AI filters that already, part of it. But that whole immersive piece as a media evolution will be revolutionary in its own. But next to that, what makes it most exciting is, again, the backbone of blockchain. And I think before the web, we felt that our information was ours and maybe government had access to that. But before we knew, our information belonged to other people. And they were monetizing on our information without us even realizing. Or I think it's reached the point now that we accept because it's the service that we are getting, but equally there is nobody else challenging that service, so I need to give in order to get, right? Which the social lock of Facebook and the whole Web 2 ecosystem. And what I see is that blockchain will allow us to unlock that prison, and for one side, and we will allow us to define what is the value of our data. And the example I typically use is I make a picture of a dish and I tag a restaurant on Instagram. I'm a photographer, I'm a content creator, but who is making money is Instagram. In the Web3 environment, I can still do the same thing. I'll tag that picture, and yes, Instagram, if you want to use it, you need to deposit this on my wallet, right? And I think that is going to be, one, extremely empowering, but it's going to be very educational for people to understand their value as human beings, their creative value put out there. And it's going to change the dynamics of power. And it's going to allow also, I think, the current dynamics of power to be changed, because they can be built in decentralized ways, right? They can be built as DAOs, they can be built as cooperatives, they can be built as individual artists that actually can reach the friendship base and generate value and create value together. Mm-hmm. And I'm super excited about that part.
Yeah, I 100% agree that the exciting part about Web 2 is that the infrastructure of the internet is changing and including this value layer to it, where people can have ownership of their data and their assets for the first time. Like before, digital data and assets were really hard to actually own, but crypto enables this for the first time. So I think that's just like a very revolutionary aspect of Web3. But wondering about like the metaverse aspect, because it's besides kind of this ownership aspect, it's also represented as this kind of space, that is, requires like VR headsets and, virtual reality worlds and these like avatars. And do you see it that way? Like, do you think that our experience online is headed to kind of these virtual realities and like headsets and, I don't know, AI, and is that where we're going? Like, where do you see that?
Well, what I see, and that has been part of also like our thesis from day one, is that there will come a day where we're going to only own one piece of physical clothes, which is to protect our body. And our digital wardrobe is going to be vast, very vast. And the way we're going to experience it is that reality is truly through augmented reality is going to be beamed on our bodies. So just like we have Wi-Fi everywhere now, mm-hmm. Imagine that there will be a moment that the web connection, the mobile connection is going to be powerful enough for us to beam new realities on top of our physical reality. And then this distinction between physical and digital is not going to be as abrupt as it is right now. right? And if anything, our lives are going to be enhanced. So at that moment, not only fashion will be augmented, but objects are going to be augmented, nature is going to be augmented, and we're going to create really magic worlds out there, and it's going to be fascinating. We are building a business for that. We're building a business for a moment where our digital wardrobe is going to be our wardrobe. Now, there will be a path to get there, for sure. And I think the first step to get there, which will enable bridging a lot of what we call now Web 2 and Web 3, is AR filters. I think we already see them evolving, getting better. And we actually are offering our NFTs with AR filter it's probably going to start in August, where you can buy NFTs that have AR filter allocated to them, and you can actually wear your digital items in a Zoom call.
Oh, cool.
Right? So there is, I think, that step, and then there is the steps that are coming parallel to that, which are indeed these spaces, these 3D spaces. And I think the most well-known is Decentralized, Sandbox, Spatial, and there are so many others. We are in touch every week with new spaces that are coming. And I think they have validity to exist, and they are a good bridge from where we are to where we are going. You don't need a glass to be in, but you are in an environment that you're meeting up and you're controlling the space, you're directing the space, right? It feels like a game environment. I do feel that there will be premium experiences where you're going to start wearing glasses very soon. And I also think that those glasses are going to evolve technology-wise to be super lightweight, that are going to allow for mass adoption. I'm completely confident about it, because if you just look at the evolution of technology from mobile phones, which used to be like suitcases, to what we have right now, right, it indicates that the same is going to happen with those VR glasses or augmented reality glasses. And they will reach, both from a price point of view as much from aesthetics and easy to use, mass adoption. Whether they're going to be used in the context of daily life, I don't know. But I can totally see them used in the context of professional life. Like I can totally see doctors being, aided by glasses that help them to do their work and surgeries. And I can totally see that. I don't know if they're going to be appealing enough for everyday use. I was talking the other day with a company that's actually working on contact lenses, which is even further, right? Which is amazing. It's absolutely going to get there. We are absolutely convinced about it. It's going to be a path, and a lot of this is defined by technology that's beyond our control. But we are absolutely right for the next step, which is what we call Metaverse publishing. And as I said, we have AR, we have relationships with Decentralized and Sandbox. So the way we work right now, at the end of every campaign, because we are hosting campaigns, we have a fashion show with the items created by the users. And the last fashion show is in Decentralized. And our items, which are very high definition, we mapped them back into the Decentralized look and feel, and we created what we call digital twins with Decentralized look and feel and form. And you could wear your items in the metaverse situation.
Okay, so let me see if I can kind of summarize the evolution of this vision. So I guess for today's use, what you see is things that AR enhancements, like maybe these filters that you can kind of overlay in video calls. Maybe that's a use case that anyone could understand and use right now. I think that'd be really cool. I'd like to do that, Then I guess next step, and maybe in parallel with that use case, is more the virtual reality use case that we're seeing in kind of Decentraland and crypto voxels and Somnium and all these spaces where you don't really need a headset or anything. Even you can just log in to on your web browser and go into these virtual reality worlds, and it does feel like a game, and you have your avatar, and then these fashion pieces can be worn in that setting, right? And right now it's like the use of those, or like the interaction in those worlds is pretty limited. I think it's like people go in as kind of like a curiosity and like checking things out, but I don't see people actually experimenting and kind of living much of their lives there. Do you see kind of, the tech evolving into a place where, people are just like doing more of their social meetings or work meetings in those VR worlds?
So I'll tell you what I think. Right now, they're very much event-driven, right? You go there for an experience, you get out. Because there is, to your point, not much going on. Their ability to engage creators to create experiences and games is what's going to define the success as well. So just take Roblox as an example. It's a very successful metaverse, you could say. Or Fortnite's a very successful metaverse. People go there, they experience, they do things together, and they come back, right? In a very gamified way, but they come back. And I think what I expect is that Decentralized and Somnium and Sandbox, they are going to operate on the same principles. And there will be a reason for you to return because it's fun, because it's entertaining, because maybe, you get loyalty tokens for that and you can use and buy stuff. So I can totally see that evolving, and it's already evolving. If I look at Decentraland alone, which is a team we talk very often and work together, the amount of events that they're putting out is absolutely increasing. In the Fashion Week, they were able to bring 40,000 people into the Fashion Week to experience it, which is a really big number for a blockchain experience right now. So I think they're all going to evolve. The getting into a work situation, like moving from Zoom calls to meet each other, I think it will also get there, but the experience needs to evolve to more like, we just hang out with our avatar sitting on the couch. But one thing that I miss the most is like whiteboard sessions, really picking up post-its from the wall, right? And some software, they do a good job, but I really miss just like standing up, picking up stuff, circling with the pen. And when we get there, I'm totally convinced that we're going to have 3D offices, that we're going to meet up. I'm waiting for that. I love that. And again, you want to be dressed for that, right? And that's what I think, though. You're going to be dressed just like in normal life for different situations differently. You're going to adopt different identities. You're going to have even more than one avatar, I'm convinced. You're going to have one to play, one to hang out, one to work, and you're going to be changing it. And that is going to be fashion is going to be, again, back to something fun to play with.
Nice. Okay, and then to finish kind of the evolution, that's kind of the VR world. And then your like super futuristic vision, which I love, like it's so out there, is this vision with like the very kind of more minimalist glasses where actual kind of physical reality is augmented. It's like, so you're not logging into a specific like virtual reality world, like you're in your own space, but that is being modified and augmented. Is that kind of how you see it?
Well, I think actually it's beyond your own space. You're walking on the streets and you actually having your reality augmented. A lot of things that are now physical and static are already being augmented through technology. Think about traffic signs. Depending on the road traffic, you're going to get traffic signs that change, right? Through digital posting. Imagine that is instead of being a physical post that change through digital technology, it's just going to be beamed, and you're going to have signs on the street that are beamed to orient you to drive or walk. And you're going to have also new types of flowers emerging from the ground. As you're going to have new pieces of clothes that you can change anytime in the day.
That's so interesting. And you're seeing kind of this technology is already being worked on?
I think there is a lot of holographic technology that is, people working on really long timelines. There is a lot of haptic technology as well. So again, create texture, and especially for fashion, that's super interesting that you don't need to touch something to feel it, right? I do expect that will come much later because it's dependent on not only having the hardware, but having the software and having also the let's call it the mobile internet power to be able for those things to happen, right? But at small scale, there are a lot of people playing with augmented reality.
Liquidation-free, long-term leveraged tokens. That's what's coming fresh out of TracerDAO's perpetual pools. Deployed on Arbitrum, you can take long or short positions with leverage to trade anything: commodities, crypto, equities, even NFTs. Dive into perpetual pools at tracer.finance. You can also learn more about this release with The Voyage, a week-by-week journey to earn TCR rewards. Head over to tracer.finance today and take a look for yourself. The Fabricant is one of the most prolific digital garment creators in the market. But are these garments actually being used? Also, with a multitude of competing metaverses, is it possible for our digital wardrobes to be compatible with all the different chains and virtual worlds?
Yeah, so right now you can find all the garments that exist from the Fabricant and the co-creators in the Fabricant Studio, so it's Fabricant.studio. And once you're there, you can be part of the co-creation campaigns. So they happen as campaigns that typically last 1 week at maximum. So you can be a co-creator, then you receive a very high quality rendering as an NFT. And that NFT can allow you to have a wearable. And right now we're doing we did the first seasons with wearables in Decentralized and Sandbox, and they will give them to some owners, but we are scaling that possibility to really allow for everybody to have, before the end of the year, at least one wearable. Call it one wearable utility, is a bit of the jargon of the industry right now, but at least one wearable that you can truly be able to not only have the NFT, but wear it either through AR or in Decentralized or in another Metaverse experience. And for us, the next 6 months is really important as a building phase for that pipeline, because creating the wearables has two technical challenges. One is translating them in the different languages of the metaverses, right? So Sandbox is super pixelated, Decentralized is low poly. You have other ones that are on Unreal Engine that are more defined. And we build everything in the highest definition. Like, our designers are true fashion designers. There's huge amount of details that needs to be creatively translated. And second is the blockchain. We built our product on Flow because it's the most sustainable chain out there. And also we felt it was safe and was fast and fit to our roadmap. A lot of the users right now and the NFT buyers are, as we know, in Ethereum. So we need to make sure that also, and the worlds as well. So both Decentralized and Sandbox, as an example, are built on Ethereum base. So we need to make sure that those items are dropped into non-flow wallets. And right now we're gifting them, but we want to make sure that they are gifted and they remain part of the ownership package of the creators, and that everything's done in a seamless way, right? So our tech team is working relentlessly for the next months to really make that a kind of multi-wallet experience, whatever we want to call it, cross-chain experience, really top-notch, to allow us to then scale for the what I call the wearing publishing.
So it's sounds like a big task to each garment needs to be compatible with different blockchains, but also different worlds. Like, you have your original garment, but it needs to be translated to, Decentralized, Sandbox, and so on. So it's like Correct. You need to create many different versions of the same item for people to actually be able to enjoy it, and like all their different ways to interact.
Correct.
So interesting. Right now, do you have like just to get an idea, like a number of like amount of garments created, and maybe do you have a way to gauge how many of those garments are actually being used by?
Yeah, so we have right now in the studio is invitation only, so it's not everybody can actually be part of it, and we have been curating very much the attendance and the invitation. So we have now about 2,000 users that have created items. On average, everybody creates almost close to 2 items. So that's the amount of the studio right now, and I would say that around 5% have a digital twin at this moment, which means that has a wearing equivalent in a world of the creation, right? And that's the scalability that we are building as we speak to allow for every item to have actually a wearing utility.
So, what does that mean? So, users or participants you have 2,000 creators on the Fabricant studio, and of those 5% have twins, which means that the items that they're created have a version that can be worn by a digital by an avatar in a blockchain based land. What does it take to make these wearable twins? Is it like a complicated process, or can anyone just go and make a twin?
Yes, it's a really good question. It is a manual process, and there are very skilled artists right now that make those translations together with our designers team. And that's why for us it's super important to create that technical pipeline to scale them, because we won't be able to scale all of them manually for sure. So that's what our tech team is working on right now. So it's going to be a semi-automated process for some worlds, an automated process for other ones, right? So it is a challenge, but we're super positive to crack it. And I think it's for us is a service for the creators. We want to bring the wearing utility. So being part of the Fabricant ecosystem means that you can co-create, that you have royalties in your co-creations, but also that you can wear, right? And you have access to learning, what we call the academy modules. So it's bigger than just, it's not an NFT marketplace. It's really, we call it you could even say it's an incubator of digital fashion labels, right? And we want to create that full service where wearing is super important and is one of our top priorities for the coming months.
Check out Oasis Network, one of the fastest growing Layer 1 blockchains. Oasis aims to offer improved privacy and scalability compared to other existing blockchains. They have a $200 million ecosystem fund to help projects build on its network, and it's supported by investors including Pantera, Binance Labs, Dragonfly, and Electric Capital. DeFi on Oasis offers close to zero gas fees, high throughput, and has surpassed $250 million in TVL in a few months. Some of Oasis DeFi projects include DEXs like UsuSwap and GemKeeper, and Fountain Protocol, a cross-chain lending platform. Visit oasisprotocol.org to learn more. World of Women and The Fabricant, two female-driven powerhouses within the NFT space, have teamed up to create a new collection. These two communities are seeking to make sure women feel represented and welcome in Web3. So what's this collab all about? And where does Adriana see the future of digital fashion going amid the bear market?
Yes, I love it. So we are creating the World of Women 3D collection, or fashion collection, right? And we worked with Jan and the team to translate her neckline PFPs into true head-to-toe garments in 3D. And we dropped them into the owners of World of Women. So every single owner got the equivalent of the women that they own. They got the equivalent dress. 27 items. It's like a huge collection. And what I love is that now we're going to open in the end of June. We're going to open the collection to be co-created by the World of Women holders, the World of Women Galaxy holders, our community, but also a few female Web3 communities. And we both have this very intentional mission to make Web3 a diverse space. And we wanted to make it like a women campaign, where we bring fashion and women into Web3. So we went deliberately to invite other female projects to join forces and create fashion with us. So I'm super excited about that angle. The other angle that I'm super excited about the collaboration is the fact that, to me, this is the next level of PFP projects, right? To me, PFP projects, which are really like the blue chip ones, are not a PFP anymore. They are brands. They are lifestyle brands. And I just love the idea of enable them to create digital fashion, to be like their platform where World of Women is extending their brands into digital fashion, and you can wear World of Women in the Metaverse, right? And I think that's super cool. That's just like I buy a label of a fashion brand, like maybe you buy, I don't know, Balenciaga or Gucci or Nike, and you're actually going to say, I'm buying World of Women. And I think that is in disrupting the system is super powerful, because what I believe the big disruption that this is bringing is that it's not about the big brands anymore, right? It is about curating these labels from communities that love the label, that love the brand. World of Women is a love brand to me. So the holders love it. They want to wear it because they believe in the community. And the way we are enabling that to happen, I'm super proud of the team. I'm super proud of the World of Women team as well to trust us. But I see this as the next platform for lifestyle brands, Web3 lifestyle brands.
That's so interesting. A couple of things to clarify. Okay, so with this collection, all World of Women NFT holders got their own dress to go with their PFP. And from there, you said that the Fabricant Studio will be open to that community. So that means that, if I got a dress for my World of Women NFT, I'll be able to go and modify it, and just like create on top of it and make it so that it's with like my personality, say. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
And then would I be able to make this World of Women PFP plus her dress my like virtual reality avatar and just like, be that on like Decentraland?
Yeah, ultimately, yes. And I'll be saying ultimately, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're first doing what we call the 27 originals, right? We call them the originals, non-modified. Those we actually create in the Sandbox twins. And also we're creating Decentraland twins. So those are going to be available. And as I said, we're working on our pipeline to enable that every single item that is modified is also available in a wearable form before the end of the year. We're also having a partnership with Red Player Me and Spatial. So some of the items are also going to be available in Spatial, which is really cool because you can actually almost recreate the same avatar in 3D through the Spatial kit. So you can actually truly also dress and create and customize your own self in 3D using the World of Women collection.
That's so cool. And I also wanted to dig a bit deeper on what you said about NFT collections being the new lifestyle brands. How do you think that will kind of evolve in the future? Is it will things like World of Women and Bored Apes replace major brands like Louis Vuitton and Gucci? Like, will these new blockchain-based brands be the new kind of like status symbols going forward?
I think in a way they already are, right? For the for the Web3 community, if you have an ape on your profile, that's actually is a bigger lifestyle than anything else, right? A lifestyle statement. And again, as we move into these 3D engagements, you also want to dress yourself, and you want to create your avatar and get dressed. And I think the greatest disruption that there is that the level of affinity that I have with a Web3 community is much bigger than the level of affinity I'm having with fashion brands. And it has to do with values. It has to do with not being treated as a consumer, but being treated as a contributor, as a participant, right? The fact that these communities have tokens, allow me to vote, the value flows back into me as a community owner, which doesn't happen right now with fashion brands.
Yeah, it certainly is already happening. It's been fascinating to see, and I really like this vision of PFPs extending into just like full blown personas, like online avatars with their wardrobes. I think that's a really cool vision for that.
Definitely.
What
and
role?
some of them,
Yeah, go ahead.
So some of them will get. I think some of them will also have their own worlds, but again, that level of identity, and will be for PFP projects, but I think also for some artists that are in the space, right? I think music is another one that has a very strong fanship base that was always limited to a transactional relationship, and in Web3 can evolve into something much bigger, where you give value to your fans, and you already start seeing it as well with music artists. But I see that any entity, person, community that has a strong love and a strong, group of lovers of your philosophy will have their own digital label that you're going to be wearing in the metaverse to show who you belong to show which tribe you belong to.
DYDX, the Decentralized Derivatives Exchange, is on a mission to build the world's leading crypto trading platform. To further this mission, the team is now developing the next version of the protocol, V4. DYDX V4 is planned to launch at the end of 2022, and it will be open source, fully decentralized, and entirely controlled by the community. To help power this next step, DYDX has launched a grants program with funding allocated to open source builders, contributors, and ecosystem integrations. Come build the future of decentralized trading at DYDX Grants. What role do traditional brands have in all this? I know there have been so many announcements about like Nike and I don't know, Prada and other huge brands getting involved with NFTs and creating their own collections, Gucci as well, and I don't know, many others. I think everyone's kind of trying to get on top of things. What role will they have?
Yeah, I think first of all, I welcome the try. I think it's better to try than to deny. However, what I do see is the kind of it's still treated as another revenue source, as a kind of we can make big money with it, rather than really embracing that change of relationship. I still see brands coming in and saying, oh, these are my consumers and I'm going to give them something different, or it's a marketing trick, rather than truly saying these are community and these are not consumers anymore. They are shareholders of your enterprise. They are participants of your idea. They are co-creators of your clothes, right? And I don't see any of the brands adopting that attitude quite yet. And I think if anything, Nike was smart to actually acknowledge that they have a business model that is about physical, and they bought artifacts to learn and have a playground, which doesn't need to follow the Nike rules, right? But can start infusing those dynamics, hopefully back into their core business. But apart from that, I think everybody's coming with a very short-term gain attitude.
Yeah, I agree. I think in general, that's what we've seen, the way that Web 2 is interacting with Web 3 is not really adopting kind of the core of the space into their practices, but trying to kind of fit the old ways into, the new ways in a way that's not very organic. So I believe that in Web3, it'll be Web3 native projects and communities, the ones that really succeed. I don't think it'll come from Web 2, because it's just like a different model. like all these huge brands would have to change their entire business model to adapt. And I don't think they'll do that.
I agree. And I understand it as well. It's like, even in the scale of things, a company that makes billions in revenue, like an Adidas, if they do like a million drop, that's it's not a lot of money. It's kind of to change an entire company and to go through all the hassle that it is, which is to set up a completely new model of operating for probably less than 1% of the revenue. It's really hard, right? Why would they buy into that? And I think that is where startups and small business always have this disruptive nature, because we eat from the outsides, right? Like before they know, a big part of the business is eroding into a new direction. And I think that's going to happen when they wake up, is because a big part of their business will have gone to labels that are catering to a much more, I think, fanship rewarded distribution model. And then they will need to jump into it. And I'm afraid it's going to be too late.
Yeah, I agree. And then to start wrapping up, I think, we have to address the state of the market. Things have shifted dramatically from last year. And it seems like we're decidedly in a crypto bear market now. Everything has sold off. The macro environment is, very bleak. So how does that change? Or how have you seen attitudes change towards the metaverse, which used to be kind of such a big hype word? Now I'm not sure if people are as excited about learning and experimenting as they were before. Have you seen kind of a decline in interest or in people wanting to create? And how do you prepare for a prolonged bear market?
Yeah. I don't think that there is a decline. I think, if anything, it's a good resettling of playing field, and I think it challenges projects to be more serious and be more solid and have true roadmaps and true intent. So I kind of welcome the phase we are in. For us, it's actually great, because in a way, it kind of takes a bit the pressure off to ship stuff to the market. We can really concentrate on building. So for us, it's perfect. And we are just in a very fortunate position to have done our Series A, have great investors behind the Fabricant that actually invest on us, knowing that we are building something for the long term of a really disruptive nature, but of great opportunity. So we have quite a long period of allowance for that build, and which would be without bear market would still be the agenda for us. And I think, if anything, it's a good thing for the entire ecosystem.
Yeah, it's what I'm hearing. It's like a bear market is a great time to build. It takes the pressure off, takes the hype away, the fluff away from the market. Great. And then to finish, Adriana, what makes you defiant?
Oh, I didn't expect that question, although I always listen to your podcast. I think it is not giving up on the dream. Really, in 2018, I can tell you, Camila, we would go to meetings and people would call us lunatics. We were last week in a meeting in London with the high fashion industry, and we were called socialists.
Why?
Because we were with the very high end, and their model is based on exclusivity. And we were saying, actually, anybody can be a creator. And we are about giving value back to the community and equalizing the playing field. And for a few brands that have been built on exclusivity of very high prices, and actually that's my model, that feels like, in their words, socialist. Or, you can't drink champagne in the Metaverse. We seriously heard that.
Amazing.
And
I love
and
that
I love
quote.
it. I love it. The more I hear it, the more I love it. like this whole thing about partnering with World of Women is also driven by that kind of non-conformist nature of it's full of white male in this Web3. Come on, we need to change it. Let's do something to shake it up. So as a team, we're continually looking at let's do something to shake it up.
I love it.
And that's a kind of Web3 punk, I think, nature of the Fabricant that we want to keep.
Amazing. Well, yeah, I think that's a great message to end. Never giving up on the dream, being nonconformist. And maybe you can't drink champagne on the metaverse, but you can rock an absolutely amazing avatar, that is already the new status symbol of the web. So, Adriana, this was a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Camila, for the invitation. It was super nice. And I hope to see you wearing the Fabricant clothes very soon.
Oh, I'd love to. Definitely. All right. Bye.